Welcome to the IHC Craft Room. I'm Mary. In today's video, we're going to talk about a really important part of candle making. It's something called fragrance load. If you're new to candle making or you're an experienced candle maker, you've probably heard this term before. But what is it? How do you calculate it? And why is it so important? So we're going to go through all of that in this video. And I'm going to give you some practical examples of how you can calculate fragrance load so that you can make your own candles at home. Now, before we go any further, there is something that I do want to say. Fragrance load is not the only thing that impacts the scent of your candle, how much it throws, and basically the overall burn. There are a ton of factors involved in that. But today we're going to focus on fragrance load. That doesn't mean we're not going to talk about the other factors, but we're going to focus on fragrance load. So grab all your stuff. Okay, wait a minute. There's not really anything for you to grab because we're not making anything today. So, okay, grab a pen and paper and let's get crafty.
This is Mary. Welcome to the IHC Craft Room.
So, what is fragrance load? It's the percentage of fragrance oil that you use in relation to the weight of your wax. And it's going to directly impact the amount of scent throw you get and how well your candle's going to burn.
Okay. So what's the big deal? Well, if you've got too little fragrance oil, your candle scent throw will be weak. But too much isn't better. Believe it or not, even with more fragrance oil, the scent throw may end up weak too. Not to mention that too much oil can cause soft or runny wax, poor burns like tunneling or soot, and the oil may even separate after cooling. Plus, you're wasting oil and money. If that extra oil doesn't equal extra throw, then the only thing you're throwing away is your cash. The goal here is a balanced load for strong scent and a safe, reliable burn.
Now that we know why fragrance load is so important, let's talk about how to calculate it. There's two formulas you're going to want to know. So let's dive in.
Let's break down these two formulas, starting with the first one. Formula 1 helps you calculate how much fragrance oil you need to add to your candle. You'll use this one when you know the total weight of your candle and your target fragrance load percentage. Don't worry, it might look a bit complex, but we'll go through it in the next section with an example. Formula 2 is for when you've already poured your candle and want to check your actual fragrance load. This formula is super useful for making sure your scent load is just right. And it'll give you the exact percentage of fragrance in your candle based on what you've used.
Both formulas are key to making sure that your candle smells great and burns properly. Now let's move on to have a look at how these apply in a practical example.
Let's break down how to calculate fragrance load using a real-world example. I love the 9-ounce Luxe candle jars from Village Craft and Candle. So let's say we're using one of those and your goal is to fill it with 8 ounces in total. That includes both wax and fragrance oil. So first we need to convert ounces to grams so that we know what to target. And that means 8 ounces is equal to 227 grams. Now let's use the formula to calculate how much fragrance oil we need for an 8-ounce fragrance load. We're going to multiply the total fill weight by that fragrance load, and that's going to give us 1,816. Next, let's add the fragrance load to 100. That'll give us 108. And last, we're going to divide 1,816 by 108, and that's going to give us 16.8. Now we'll round that up to 17 grams. And then we're going to use that number to subtract from the overall total we were targeting. So 227 minus 17 means we're going to need 210 grams of wax and 17 grams of fragrance oil to achieve our 8% fragrance load for this 9-ounce Luxe jar. Cool, right? Now let's use formula number 2 to check our fragrance load and make sure everything adds up. The formula is fragrance oil weight divided by wax weight and then multiplied by 100. So in this case, that's 17 grams of fragrance oil divided by 210 grams of wax, which gives us about 0.081. So let's multiply that by 100 and boom, we've got ourselves an 8.1% fragrance load. Beautiful. I made this quick reference table just in case math isn't your strong suit because it's definitely not mine. Take a screenshot of this or head down to the comment section where I should have pinned a comment that leads you to my website, ihccraftroom.com, where you can find this as a downloadable. At least you will once I figure out how to make a downloadable on my website, and then you'll have it.
As promised, Let's talk about the other factors that impact the scent throw of your candle outside of fragrance load. Factor number one is the wax itself. Each type of wax has a different level of scent throw. Soy is a little bit more subtle, whereas paraffin has a much stronger scent throw. Then you've got beeswax that has its own scent mixed in. So a lot of people don't even put scent in beeswax because they want the beeswax scent to dominate. So your waxes themselves are going to have a certain impact on how much throw you're going to get. That's also the reason why there is a maximum scent load on the waxes. And you should definitely consult your manufacturer's recommendations. 99% of them will have it on their box. And if they don't, check with the place that you buy it from, and they should say it on their website.
Another factor is wick size. The right wick creates an optimal melt pool, allowing the fragrance to release evenly and effectively. A wick that's too small can cause tunneling and seriously poor scent throw, while one that's too large may burn too hot, leading to soot, mushrooming, and wasted fragrance oil.
Let's talk about fragrance oil quality. High quality fragrance oil is specially formulated for a stronger scent throw, both hot and cold. It's worth the investment for a stronger smelling candle. And don't forget about fragrance load. We just discussed how incredibly important that is to the overall scent of your candle as well. Both of these together are incredibly important factors.
Pouring wax at the correct temperature ensures the fragrance binds properly with the wax. Pouring too hot can cause the fragrance to burn off before the candle sets, reducing your scent throw. On the flip side, pouring too cool can lead to poor fragrance distribution, rough tops, or even sinkholes. Each wax type has its own ideal pouring range, so it's important to follow manufacturer guidelines and test for the best results. And lastly, curing candles for 1 to 2 weeks helps the fragrance bind with the wax for a stronger scent throw. Room size, airflow, and container shape all affect how the scent is released. Glass containers in particular tend to hold and release fragrance more effectively than metal or ceramic ones. And where you burn your candle matters too. Drafts can cause the fragrance to fade quickly, while enclosed spaces help it linger longer. Remember, you can get every other detail right, but if the fragrance load is off, the scent just won't carry. Fragrance load doesn't just help, it leads.
So, what do you think? Are you a fragrance load calculating expert now? In the very least, you have a good understanding of what fragrance load is and why it's so important to get it right in candle making. Of course, don't forget, there's a ton of other factors that impact the overall performance of your candle. But understanding fragrance load is going to be a really big step in your candle making journey and getting that recipe right. If you're interested in learning more about candle making, check out one of these videos. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!